Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Woolly Wonka Fibers podcast. My name is Anne. Today is Monday, the 19th of March. It's the 19th of March, 2018. How is everybody doing? I hope that you all are doing great. Popping in with my sort of bi-weekly podcast. Today I'm going to talk about some knitting things. I'm going to talk some spinning. I've got books, and then I've got kind of a more general journaling, other stuff I'm doing update at the end of the videos. So you can choose to stay for part of this, all of this, whatever floats your boat. So this is a podcast about, as you might guess, knitting and spinning, since I'm going to talk about those things. I can be found on the web at www.woollyWonkaFiber.com. I am also on Facebook and Instagram as Woolly Wonka Fibers, and I also have a Ravelry group that is Woolly Wonka Fibers. So please come and find me in any of those locations. I do try to post fairly often to all that good social media stuff. First up, a little bit of housekeeping. Yarn Fest, which is in Loveland, Colorado, and sponsored by Interweave, is happening the 12th, 13th, 14th of April, which is about 3 weeks away, and I will be vending there again this year, booth 602. There's 3 sets of doors, so 1, 2, 3. If you come in the set that's farthest to the left, I'm like the second booth along the wall. Same place that I have been the last 4 or 5 years, I think, something like that. So anyway, that's where I will be that weekend. All of the usual suspects with yarns and kits and patterns and some spinning fiber and me. I will be there as well. So please come by and say hi if you're planning on attending that particular festival. It is a lot of fun. There are some awesome classes. Excuse me, I'm a little allergy here today. We had a cold snap and we had like blowing snow yesterday. But when I looked at the weather forecast for today, we have 9.9 available pollen happening out of 10. So for those of us who have spring allergies, it's happening. Okay, let's see. A couple of other little mini notes. The first of which is, if you've been to the website in the last couple of days, you'll probably notice a new look. I'm in the process of revamping it, so if there's something that you're looking for specifically and don't see yet, please just shoot me a note. There's an email icon in the top right-hand corner of the website, and then there's also a contact me button you can click that you fill out the form that you can tell me what you need. So it is a slow process, but I have been wanting to clean up the website. I wanted to have a little bit more flexibility for adding different products. I wanted to be able to have a space that's coming soon for some freebies and video tutorials. Lisa, I have not forgotten you. I know two-handed stranded knitting is something that you would like to see. Duly noted. It will happen. It's just not going to happen this week. It probably will not happen until I'm back from Yarn Fest, so hopefully mid-April, but I have figured out how to rig up the camera to record that and have it not be just a horrible hot mess. So I will definitely take care of getting that tutorial done. If there's any others that you would like to see on techniques or just how I do certain things, please let me know. I'll be glad to film a quick video tutorial for pretty much anything. So you will see some new stuff over there at the website. If you haven't wandered around over there, please feel free to do that. I am also really, really happy to say that starting this week, I will have a couple hours of a virtual assistant. I know that I've talked about my friends Dennis and Jeff at the Yarn Guys. They have a brand new shop helper person who also is working with them at shows. I had the pleasure to meet their new shop person at Stitches West. And Scott agreed to give me a few hours a week, which I'm very excited about. He's going to be handling my newsletter going forward, as well as helping me keep some stuff updated on the new shop platforms. So I'm really hoping that I can kind of stay a little more timely on that. It's just one of those things that takes time, and then you get to the end of your day and you realize you still haven't done the newsletter, or you still haven't done the update or whatever. But, you know, when you're on hour 10 or 12 of the day, that doesn't seem like something you necessarily want to do. And so the day passes, and that happens a lot. So at least for right now, Scott's going to be working with me a couple hours a week, virtually, online. So if you think, wow, you're really put together, go Anne. It's probably not me being put together. It's probably Scott being put together, but whatever. The effect is still the same, so I'm happy. I'm very happy that that is happening. I also have a metric tonnage of exciting new stuff coming down the pike that I can't tell you about. I know I'm awful, right? Some of you may know that I've been taking, I took a step back from doing some designing work, and I haven't really done clubs this year because I wanted to reassess and see what I wanted to do and see how I wanted to move forward with things. And that was probably the best decision that I could have made, because I've wound up being really inspired by some things that I've been involved in my personal life, like not personal relationships, but like things I've been reading, things I've been watching, things I've been studying, things I've been getting interested in again, and trying to carve out some time to do that, which I think is really important to kind of keep your creative juices percolating. So I won't tell you too much, but I will tell you that there will for sure be several clubs happening starting this fall. They'll kick off this fall. And I'm just really thrilled because I'm going to be doing some collaborations with folks. If the name like Kirsten Kapoor and Susanna IC and Lori Law and Kathleen Dames, to name a few, sound good to you guys, I think you'll really enjoy what I have on tap for this fall. So stay tuned, watch this space. There will be more information coming, but yes, I am very, very jazzed about it, and I can't wait to be able to share details with you guys. Okay, enough jib jab. Let's talk about projects. I have finished up all but, I'm sorry, like allergy craziness. I finished up all but the foot of one sock for the 4 projects that I'm working on for the spring filament. Again, don't have those to show you. I'll be shooting photographs on the 1st of April, and we'll be releasing sometime probably later that month, in the final throes of preparation for that. I will share with you one of my new favorite yarns that is featured in one of the projects that I worked up for the spring issue, and that is the Sincere Sheep's Sport Weight Cormo. Now, she sources all of her fibers. They're dyed using natural dyes, and they're sourced mostly from Western ranchers. This is from 9 Mile Ranch in Wyoming. Nicely plied and gorgeous colorways. I think this one is, I think it's called Deepest Desire. Brooke Vens at Yarn Fest, and I actually picked up a sweater's worth of this at Yarn Fest last year. I used 3 of the skeins. I have 1 left over. I got a size 38 women's sweater, 38-inch chest circumference finished sweater out of 3 skeins of this. So a good deal as far as I'm concerned. And it's super, super nice to work with. If you haven't worked with Cormo, it is very bouncy. It is a breed highly influenced by merino jeans, so it is very soft. Love it. It's one of my favorites to spin. It's one of my favorites to knit. I love this yarn, highly recommending it. So again, Sincere Sheep, she has a website that is www.sinceresheep.com. If you love it, you can go check some of that out and get yourself some. Okay, so that little tidbit done. Then I have a couple of things I wanted to show you guys. Now, you have technically seen this as an FO, but I did wind up getting myself this uber adorable pom-pom. It is the Lillenstein hat that I finished up, I think it was the end of January or maybe the first week of February. And I had been on the fence about the pom-pom, and I decided to go with a faux fur one. This is off of an Etsy seller. I will endeavor to put the shop link to her shop in the notes. I love it because it looks like a little bunny tail without having harmed any bunnies. I think the colorway for this is technically gray wolf, but it looks exactly like black Angora bunnies that have a little age on them. So yeah, so I have finished that off and have been wearing that in the mornings when I'm out walking the dogs. So little footnote on that one. Then I have also finished up for my March Woolly Wonka Palooza project. Come join us in the Ravelry group if you haven't already. It's a year-long craft-along. I finished up my second hoarfrost hat. I had knit this in handspun, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before. And this year I have knit it in Sea Dragon, which is a pale seafoam green base with little specks of orange, bright blue, and dark green on it. I will also link to the pattern below. This is a great slouchy hat, but not too slouchy. It's got just enough extra give to it. You can wear it like that with the brim folded down if you don't like slouch, or you can wear it like that. So either way, it takes a skein of DK. This is my Aislinn DK, which is the 100% merino. Yep, so that one's done. I think it's a great basic hat. I think completely dependent on what colors you picked and what type of yarn you picked. It could either go as a guy hat or a girl hat. Can't beat that. So anyway, that is done. I have actually finished that project. So those are all the things that I have finished. Now, I think I showed you this last time and there's zero progress on it, but my plan is to work on this through the end of March and try to get them done. These are the Winter Rose Socks by Helen Stewart. Colorway is Heartbreaker in Rhiannon Sock. Again, kind of getting a little washed out here, but I think I have 3 more repeats of the lace to finish the leg. I have oodles and oodles of yarn, so I could make the legs as long as I wanted that would fit. So this is what I'm going to be knitting on this week. I'm going to try to get these done over the next week and call that good. So that is what I am working on for knitting currently. I haven't decided going forward what I'm going to be doing for the April prompt in the Wonka Palooza, which is white or sparkles. And I do have a fair amount of sparkle stuff. Or, what's the other thing? Or a shawl. I haven't decided which of those I'm going to tackle. We'll see. I've got some time to decide before April kicks off, so I'll see what inspires me. I think that's it for knitting right now. Kind of dull roar after the knit pieces for filament are finished. So let's move on to spinning. I have a finished spin to share with you guys this time. This is a they were originally a set of hand-carded bats from Funky Carolina. The base was hand-dyed blue-faced Leicester wool with some purple sparkles in it, and I have spun it up into a fingering weight 2-ply yarn. The colorway is Iris, so it's got kind of herb green and a dark blue-purple, as well as some lighter lilacs and kind of very pale greens. So really pleased with that. I love it. I love how it came out. I am putting this in my stash bin. I still don't know what I'm going to do with it, although I could certainly use it for a sparkly shawl because it's got sparkles in it. But we'll see. Again, stay tuned. I'm then going to try to put on the wheel and finish up before the end of the month another Funky Carolina, very deep stash. Like, I don't even remember how far back this is from. It is a Falkland wool, one of my favorites for socks. And the colorway is Some Simple Song. This was a club colorway in February of some year. No idea when. It's at least 5, probably more like 8 years old. Deep stash. So I will be spinning this up. I was thinking, even though I like it for socks, that I might try to spin it a little bit thicker and do a pair of squishy mittens from it. It's got pale green, brown, little bits of purple, like kind of, a very pale hyacinth, purpley blue, and then some rose pink, which is getting washed out. There's some pops of it there you can see. So that's the next thing on my wheel. I have also picked a project to spin for April. That's going to be a set of hand-carded bats from Butterfly Girl Designs, who's on Etsy. But I'll show you that next time because I will be spinning this for a little while. Okay, take a sip of water and we will move on to books. I have 3 books to talk about this time. The first book is one that I read for my challenge topic of a book set in Africa or some other place, but I opted for Africa and I went with Egypt and Alexandria. This is set 400, I think it is, 387 to 430 BC. I think that's right. The title of the book is called Flow Down Like Silver. It's a reference to alchemy. The author's name is Ki or Kai. It's K-I Longfellow. The book is about Hypatia of Alexandria, and if you don't know who she is, which I did not, she is a woman who, they do know some about her, that she was an actual person. Her father was a very famous mathematician, and he taught her as if she were a son. So he educated her in the same kind of classical training with Greek and Roman, math, science. He taught her to basically ride a horse like a guy and to defend herself, and kind of was a very sort of modern woman for her time. They don't know a ton about her, so I mean this book is heavily fictionalized. And I think that there's a love interest in the book that they have. I mean, the author would have no way of knowing this because there's not that kind of records on this woman. She was attacked in the street outside a lecture hall, I believe in her early 40s, and was killed by one of the, he's a bishop of the Christian church, but he also was sort of a political figure as well. Okay, I'm actually not recommending this book. I think there are probably others out there that would tell the story just as well. The writing in this was really sluggish, really sluggish. I had a hard time getting through it, which is a shame because this woman seems so very interesting. She obviously was incredibly bright. She was interested in math and science, in astronomy, in alchemy, in all kinds of amazing things, to the extent that she was considered one of the greatest minds of her age, and was someone who gave lectures in all of these topics, which was like unheard of for a woman to do in this time period. There's also some reference in here to the burning of the library at Alexandria and where those books, were all the books burned or did they disappear to somewhere hidden? which is a great theory and everything. But again, just slogging through this book was painful. I really wanted to like it, and I really didn't. So, moving on. Okay, the next book up is a collection of fairy tales, retold fairy tales, called Silver Birch Blood Moon. Loved this collection. There was only one in it that was a little bit tedious, and unfortunately, it was the last one in the book. But hey, I liked all the others very much. It's much more of adult, sort of adult retellings, like how the original Grimm fairy tales were written, which were not geared towards kids; they were geared towards adults. Some cautionary tales in there, and just some fun and kind of interesting twists on things. A lot of them I think I liked because they kept it set in a historical period, but updated the story to be more adult oriented and less Disney-ish. A couple were contemporary. Um, they did Rumpelstiltskin, they did The Frog Prince, they did Briar Rose or Rapunzel, Sleeping Beauty, kind of all of the ones that you would probably recognize. And there's a blurb at the front of each short story that tells you what the original fairy tale reference is. So you kind of go into it, you already knew the original story. And so it's fun to see the author's take on the version that you think you know kind of reinterpreted. So I really like that one. I would recommend it if you like fairy tales or retelling of fairy tales. It's not something to read to your kids. It's definitely adult type reading. A lot of times things don't end happily for everybody. So I actually like that. It's a little more real. And then finally, a book called Half Broke Horses. The author of this book is Jeanette Walls, and she wrote a book called The Glass Castle, which I think some of you out there have read. I've heard it mentioned. It's been fairly popular recently, kind of about the author's dysfunctional parents and how the kids kind of raised themselves, and it's sort of an autobiography. Okay, this book is fiction, but it's heavily, heavily based on her mother's remembrances of her mother, whose name was Lily Casey Smith. And the book is written as if it's a memoir, and I think that the author did an amazing job channeling the voice of her grandmother, who obviously was quite a personality. This book is funny. It's like Little House on the Prairie with more profanity, because her grandmother was not someone who tiptoed through life with the vapors. She was definitely a roll up your sleeves and get at it kind of girl. Lily's parents, her father had suffered an injury when he was a kid. He had been kicked in the head by a horse, actually. And he walked with a limp, and he had a speech impediment because of it. And he was a bit of a Barnum in that he was always thinking of like new ideas, but wasn't necessarily great at all of the day-to-day things you need to do to run a ranch. And the book opens in West Texas, which is where Lily and her siblings are born. Her mom is someone who kind of always has the vapors. She wears her corset too tight. She lays on the chaise longue and sort of wipes her brow as the day goes on, but doesn't get her hands dirty very much. And Lily, at the age of 11, is basically running their ranch in West Texas. She's she's breaking horses for her father, who owns a carriage horse business. She's balancing the book. She's figuring out how to make ends meet. She's taking care of her two younger siblings. Definitely a woman who had spunk and had fire and, like I said, get up and go. So the book is set in West Texas, where the family starts. Lily's sent to school for a year with the nuns in Santa Fe, which was kind of an interesting tie-in. And then the book takes you through parts of Arizona and New Mexico where the family moves. And eventually Lily winds up getting married to a rancher, and they ranch a huge cattle operation near what is the southern entrance of the Grand Canyon. It's between Kingman and Seligman, if you know that part of the world. Beautiful and very accurate descriptions of the land out here, the issues with water that just Easterners don't get if they've never lived out here for any length of time. I would have loved to have had this woman over for dinner. She reminds me a lot of my grandmother. That same kind of pioneer spirit. And I guess I should say the book, Lily is born just before the turn of the 20th century, and then it takes you into the 20th century about, I think the story ends about 52, when the author's mother gets married and has the author. Just everything about Lily Casey Smith, I loved her. I loved everything about her. I love the way the author created this voice of her grandmother from the memories of her mother. Definitely not an easy woman to live with, but I loved her. I could appreciate her from a third-party point of view. So again, that's half-broke horses, and the concept of half-broke horses runs throughout the book, referring not only to horses, but also kind of half-broke humans. There's a lot of those in this book. And now I am currently reading, and I just started, so I don't have a lot to report on it yet, is Hidden Figures, which is the movie about the women mathematician at NASA during the war and just after the war with the space program. It's the book that the movie was based on. So I'm reading that currently, and we'll report back on it next time. Okay, finally. I think I have mentioned in an earlier video that I had been participating in doing some online classes and doing some journaling and doing some other things that were kind of new to me, but I was really enjoying kind of expanding my crafting horizons. And one of the things that the online class that I'm taking had encouraged folks to do for spring was to make a list of 10 things that were not necessarily bucket list kind of things, but were things that you wanted to try or do or explore or learn or attempt. You didn't have to pick all 10 at once. It could be an ongoing list that you worked on. But the point of the exercise was to find some things that were projects that you wanted to tackle that maybe if you just, that you'd kept putting off, or you kept thinking, well, I don't have time for that, or I need to get X to do it, or whatever. And make a list of those things and then figure out what specific steps you could start taking to working towards being able to do the thing. So, for instance, like if you wanted to plan a trip, or if you wanted to take a trip somewhere, go through the planning stages. Is this something that is like in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years from now? Is it something that you have to save up for? Is it something that you need to get guidebooks for? Should you learn a new language? All of those kinds of things that go into the sort of front end planning for projects. And it could be as big or as small a project as you wanted it to be. So I picked 8 things out of the 10 that I kind of already had in mind, and I was had been thinking about doing. And I think part of the reason that I had not started or really work towards many of these things is I just felt like, well, I don't want to commit the time to doing the thing. I'm so busy with everything else that this thing that I want to do that's just for fun, I really don't have time to do, so I shouldn't do it. And I'm working very hard to get out of that mindset, because I think what winds up happening is you wind up kind of putting up a bunch of self-imposed barriers or restrictions, and once it sort of influences one area of your life, it bleeds over into other areas of your life. This is tying back to my ramblings about design work at the beginning of this podcast. So anyway, so like one thing on my list was I've had sitting in a Tupperware bin the patterns for all of the correct underpinnings, undergarments, plus the exterior garments for an 1885-87 steampunk themed outfit. No, it's not the kind of thing I'm going to wear every day, but it's something that I'd wanted to do for a while. When I was in college, and I have a degree in costume design, every year our theater department would do a beaux arts ball where you would construct the thing you were going to wear. And it was always great fun, and it was sort of 1890s, like Moulin Rouge era feeling of things. And I loved doing that, and it was like one night out of an entire school year, but it was still fun to do, and it was also a great way to practice your skills and, work on something that was not a deadline for a class project, which was great. It was a really great thing. You made it to fit yourself. You had the joy of wearing it. So that's something that I've put on my list of top 10 things. And I probably won't get started on this right away. But I thought, there's no reason why I couldn't do this just because I want to do it. And yeah, maybe I'll wear it once a year for Halloween. I don't know. Maybe I'll get into wearing it to the grocery store every time I go. I have no idea, but I have all the stuff. I mean, I have silk taffeta. I have everything except the corset, the actual boning. I have the interior, I have the exterior, I have all the stuff for the undergarments, I have all the stuff for the lining, I have the interfacing, everything. I have everything ready to go. So what am I waiting on it for, really? And if it takes me 10 years to do it, it takes me 10 years to do it. I will work on it when I feel like it, and I will work on it as I can. And I'm just excited that that's a project that I'm going to put on my to-do list to start at least in the relatively short future. So one of the other things on my list, which I thought I would talk about in a little bit more depth here, because I've had several kind of offline conversations with people about the weird diet that I'm on, which the short version is it's no long chain carbohydrates. You can go and Google that if you want. It's only short chain carbohydrates, which means that there's a lot of stuff that I can't eat, which is fine. I've been on this diet now. It'll be 4 years at the end of this month. I think I balance it pretty well. I try very hard to do that. But one thing that I have noticed is that I've gotten into a lot of ruts about what I eat. And the good news is that I'm somebody who can eat the same thing like every day, and that doesn't bother me until all of a sudden it bothers me. And then what winds up happening is I'm like, what do I have that's different in the house? Or what can I run out and get that's different just because I want something different? And then it isn't always like the best nutritional choice. So if you're somebody who eats or is trying to eat paleo diet, gluten-free diet, low starch, low carbohydrate diet, this diet is great for that. It is not low fat. It is not low calorie. So it's not a diet like you're trying to lose weight. It's for other health reasons. So one of the websites that I have popped into several times is a website called Comfy Belly. I will put the link below. I have one of the author's cookbooks, and I do cook out of it quite a bit when I cook. She does a really good job of testing recipes. And I got thinking about the fact that one of the things that's been like a sticking point for me about having different things in the fridge is I'm like, oh, well, I don't have the ingredients for that, so I don't want to make it. Or, oh, I don't think I like stuff with almond flour in it. Maybe at that level. Some of the almond flour recipes are really, really heavy. But this author now has ones that are half almond, half coconut, or all coconut flour. Um, and there are some things in the book that I just wouldn't make because I know I'm not technically allergic to eggs, but I can't eat very many eggs. Like I can do eggs maybe once a week, either in a baked good or um, like a quiche kind of thing. So a lot of foods in this recipe collection rely on eggs because they're an easily digestible protein for a lot of people, and that's great, but they're not great for me at that level. So what I want to do, I was kind of inspired by the movie that Amy Adams did about Julia Child, Julie and Julia, Julia and Julie. I can't remember which order that goes in, but you all know what I'm talking about. Meryl Streep plays Julia Child, and Amy Adams plays this young woman who's kind of adrift, and she decides to cook her way through Julia Child's cookbook. So that's what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to go to the website. I've got a downloadable list of all of the recipes that she's written that are applicable for my particular type of diet, plus her cookbook. And I'm going to cook my way through them, just one a week, however long it takes. So I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit, where some weeks I do something that's like an actual full meal thing, like a full dinner dish food. But some weeks I'm going to try one of her baked goods, and some weeks I'm going to try one of her breakfast things, and some weeks I'm going to try one of the snacks. And I don't expect to like everything, but I do think it would be great to have some stuff that I'm like, I don't know. Do I really want to buy stuff? Do I need to buy extra spinach for that kind of thing? I'm just going to get the ingredients for one recipe a week and try it. With the caveat that there are some recipes that she has where it's the exact same recipe, and one's like a fast version and one's a slow cook version. I won't do both of those. I'll just do one or the other depending on what time I have. And then a lot of her recipes she's revamped, where she still has like an original one that's all almond flour, and then one that's almond flour or halved with coconut flour or all coconut flour as an updated recipe. I'll just make one of those because, you know, it is basically the same recipe, just different flour. So I thought that that would be kind of a fun way to do something that was like a night that I carved out, you know, okay, Wednesday's free this week, I'm going to make this soup. Or I have a weekend afternoon and I'm going to make a loaf of bread or something like that. And like I said, I don't think I'll love every single one of them. I tend to be a fussy eater anyway, so it's always fraught with difficulty finding things that I like. But I do think it would be great to have something that was beyond eating an apple for breakfast every day. And I'm not lying, like that's what I eat every day. It would be nice. It would be nice to have, I don't know, some other smoothies and I don't know, maybe a baked good. She just posted a recipe for English muffins. They could be great. They could be horrible. Who knows? But we'll try them. So anyway, that is kind of one of the things that I am doing to sort of expand my creative horizons and just, you know, kind of get a little more inspiration back in my life about some things that I felt were boring and sort of, oh gosh, I gotta make myself something to eat, but nothing sounds good. Just a way to kind of have some interest back in menu planning. And since I'm here by myself most of the time, if I make something that normally my husband would be like, I don't think I'm going to want to eat that. Doesn't matter, he's not here most of the time. I'll just make it for myself. And if I don't like it, then, you know, I'll take it off the list. But it would be great to have a stable of some things that I know I like, that I know how to make, that are a little bit different than kind of my normal average go-to stuff that I sort of have on shuffle repeat for every single meal that I eat over the course of a month. So I thought I might write up some reviews and some other things on my personal blog, which is called An Evening of Wonders. I'll put a link to that below. It also has all my books and other stuff that I'm doing that just, you know, highlighted some of the stuff that I'm trying. And if any of you out there are looking for a specific type of recipe or want to know how something is, then it'll give you some information there about my personal thoughts on it. I'm not a professional cook. I'm definitely not a chef. Um, not really anywhere close, but I do fine in the kitchen. It's just, you know, I find it like more of a chore to cook as opposed to someone who's like, ooh, I get to go to the kitchen and make stuff. And that's kind of not normally what I like to spend my time on. But as I say, it's a way to kind of get out of yet another rut and feel like it's something interesting again that I want to be engaged with. So if any of you are doing something similar that has kind of, you know, something new that you're trying or some adventure that you're taking or some new topic that you are interested in that you're researching or finding out more about, I would love to hear what it is that you kind of want to tackle over the next, let's say, year or two. Maybe there's some things there that will inspire me or inspire other folks. So yeah. Um, as a side note to this, one thing that I didn't think that I would particularly like was journaling, because that's kind of one of the things that drives this class and the stuff that you do in it. And I got to tell you, I actually have really, really enjoyed doing that. So, you know, I'm not always caught up and I'm not always going to be. And that's something that I kind of have to like let the OCD and perfectionism tendencies get away from. Because realistically, I mean, you know, journaling is not my job. It's not going to matter if I journal every day, if I journal once a week, if I journal once a month, as long as it's providing an outlet that I want it to provide and I'm finding it fun and engaging. So anyway, that was the last little bit here, 42 minutes. I hope you guys have hung in with me to this point. Let me look at my schedule really quick. So looks like the next time I would record is going to be right around the 1st of April. That's 2 weeks away. So until next time I talk to you guys, I hope you have a great 2 weeks. Yeah, go take some time to do something fun for yourself. I will check back with you all then, and until I talk to you, enjoy. Bye.